All right, so this is my very first car chat. I am gonna just spend some time talking in my car. Um, the last, I want to say, 24 months have been very eventful for me. So I want to do some videos that will help me to document the experiences that I've been having, but also just to give myself something that I can look back and reflect on as I am progressing and as my law school journey commences, and when I reach the point of graduation, I just want to be able to reflect and have a record of the way things started, things that, maybe I was doing in the beginning that I decided to do differently at a certain point. And also, I want to share my story in the event that it may help somebody else that, is considering taking a similar path, or someone that is doubting themselves, or, someone that just needs a little bit of encouragement. So I'm gonna spend some time talking about how I got to this point, which this point being the summer before law school. So this is my pre-law school, pre-1L summer, and it's kind of unreal to me. Where do I want to start? So I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. I am 31 years old, so I will be considered what's called a non-traditional law student. I completed undergrad in 2016. I would have, or I was supposed to have finished in 2015, but I did enlist in the Air Force. So I took some time off just to complete basic training and tech school for that. And then once I finished, and once I was officially in the Air Force Reserves, I returned to my university and I completed my Bachelor's of Science. 2 years later, I decided, I guess, that I wanted to work in human resources, which that's what I do now. So right now I am in employee relations specifically. Human resources has all these different sectors. I won't get all into the weeds with it, but in the past, squirrel running. So I decided about human resources, and once I made that decision, I went ahead and pursued a master's degree in HR management. So I completed that in 2019, and I got my first HR job in 2020, or was it 2021? This is the old age. I don't know. It was 2020 or it was 2021. I started out with an HR consulting firm. So I did that for a year. I got a bigger job, a job that was going to pay a little more, was going to give me, honestly, was going to give me more of a work-life balance. So I did take another opportunity, relocated for that, transitioned from the consulting work that I was doing into an HR generalist role, and then into an HR business partner role. I stayed with that organization for almost 3 years, and then I took the role that I'm currently in, which is the employee relations management role. So I have quite a bit of HR experience, and not in terms of years, because it has been less than 5 years for me, but in terms of variety. I've had my hands on pretty much anything that you can think of when it comes to HR except recruiting. I don't have very much recruiting experience. So okay, I at some point about 2 years ago decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. It was honestly, I threw some ideas at my friends. I went into the group chat. I said, hey guys, I'm thinking about a career change. It's either going to be A, B, or C. What if I do B? And B happened to be law school. And my friends were like, yeah, do it. You can do that. I can see you doing it. And it was like, well, shit, okay, I'm gonna do it. And the first thing I did was I made a list. I'm a list maker. I sat down and I wrote out what things I needed to do in the immediate future. So within the next day, week or so, what things can I do right now to make this happen? So I wrote down names of people from undergrad that I knew that had become attorneys, and I thought about ways to get in contact with them. I did some research on study materials and how to prepare for the LSAT. And what else? I think I got really ahead of myself and started pricing how to work the study materials into my current budget. So I was like, okay, if I want to use this to study and this subscription costs X amount, which one of these do I want to do? And I was on TikTok, I think, seeing what the most popular study methods and platforms were. So I kind of just got a feel for what people were doing, and I got started immediately. So I think that I bought a 7Sage subscription that very day. So it's December of 2023 at this point. And I got going. So if you can imagine, I was working full-time at this time. So full-time in a hybrid model where I was supporting different cities as a part of my job. So as a part of my job, every week I would commute to some city, and there were certain cities that I knew I was going to every week, but I was on the road, so I would spend a day every week commuting to someplace, sometimes 2 days. So on those days I knew I couldn't study, but the days where I knew I would be either working from home or working locally, I would get up and study from 5 a.m. until about 8 a.m. If I was going to work from home. I would work from 8:30 until 3:30 or 4, sometimes later, depending on what the load was like for that week. And then I would study from about 5 until 9:30. And that's just what I did. I did that every day for months. I took the LSAT twice. So I studied up until the April LSAT, so from December until April. So December of 2023 leading into 2024, I took the 2024 April LSAT, and then got my score and thought that I was like like, oh, I did okay, this is all right. And this is a separate story, so I'll go back and make a separate video about that, because I think that that's an important part of my journey. But that score wasn't good enough. It just wasn't. And so we went back to studying, and I implemented some additional materials, and I tested again in 2024. So I took the June LSAT, and I got a better score. And with this score, I decided that I was going to apply. Now, I may have, under different circumstances, decided, I'm going to keep studying, I'm going to test again and maybe do like December. But I knew that I wanted to be applying to law school in the fall of 2024 cycle. So with my June score, I applied to, I want to say 5 programs, and I actually was accepted into the most local and most conveniently located program, which is, in the state that I currently live in. And it's actually an amazing program, and I was offered a scholarship as well to cover some of the tuition. Sorry, just looking at people. So got in, was offered a scholarship. I ended up weighing the pros and cons of accepting this scholarship, accepting in-state tuition for this law program that I know is a good program, versus going to a bigger program, applying to maybe a T14 and potentially not being offered a scholarship, and definitely, like, no doubt about it, coming out with a substantially greater amount of debt. So ultimately, my decision was to accept the offer that I received. But I will stop talking, because I have a tendency to go on and on. But what I want to say in this video is, you're not too old to dream and to have dreams and to go after those dreams. The things, and you don't have to be a traditional law student to be successful in the application cycle. You don't, and when I say that, I mean you don't have to be coming right out of undergrad to be accepted into law school. I had a lot of doubt and a lot of insecurity about my I had a lot of insecurity about myself as an applicant because of that. And I was able to prove myself wrong in that. So you're not too old, it's not too late. The things that you have done since undergrad and the experiences that you have, added to your resume, the different things that you've done, your life experiences, all of these things go into what makes you a good applicant, a desirable applicant. And I also want to say, and I feel like this should be a part of a separate video, but tell your story in the personal statement. I went very deep with mine. Like, I got very real with mine, and I told my story very transparently, and it was raw and it was real. And I think that my school saw me more so because of it. It only added to what I was bringing to the table. Just neighbors back there doing some stuff. So yeah, not too late, you're not too old. Go after what you want. Be encouraged about it, and get it done. And we need people like us need to have the confidence to go after these things and to set the example for those that are watching us and those that are coming after us. So yeah, that is car chat number 1.